Should we begin?
Yep, whenever you are ready, we are ready to go.
Oh, okay. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know you were waiting for me. So, thank you, everyone, for joining us. I'm Bilha at the Counseling Center, and I am the psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner. Thank you for joining us for the Stress Less. I hope after this presentation, you'll know a little bit about stress and how to manage. And then at the end of the presentation, we'll tell you about some of the resources in the Counseling Center and also the Career Center. And Alan is from the Career Center, so we are collaborating on this presentation. So the first slide, as you can see, it's what is stress. And stress is something, it refers to how your brain and body respond to any demand or change. So stress is, there's good stress and there's some stress that stress is not all bad. Stress is how we respond to things that are happening, either um, life today changes or things that are coming to us expectedly or unexpectedly. And on the next few slides, we'll see the different type of stressors. Um, some stresses are helpful and some can affect your functioning, and we'll be able to go over what that looks like. Okay. So eustress is one type of stress, and this type of stress is beneficial to someone's health, and it can also be the type that gives you motivation to do something. So for example, there's a job that you'd want to apply for. It's, you might feel some stress or some anxiety as you anticipate to apply for the job, but also it's exciting, and that's what gives you the motivation to go ahead and do this. Also, some of the ways that this stress, the eustress you can see is when, if you're learning like a new hobby or you're anticipating to travel or vacation. It's something that may be stressful, but also you're looking forward to it, and also it gives you the motivation to want to do something. Okay. Distress is usually unpleasant. So this type of stress is not pleasant. Um, Whenever you feel stress, for example, if you're having some academic difficulty, it's just it's hard to cope with, and it's hard for you to respond in a way that is helpful. So what this type of stress, what it can do, instead of giving you the motivation to do something, you may be so overwhelmed that you're not able to either apply for that new job, or you're not able to even sit down and do your academic work. It just kind of disables you, that you're not able to move and overcome it enough to do some of these things, and it's just not a good feeling. You're just feeling out of place and not able to cope or respond well. There are two forms of stress. The first one is acute stress. So acute stress is stress that comes on very quickly, but it does not last long. It can either be, from a perceived threat or a challenge, or you've been scared. So, for example, if you're going for a job interview, you might be stressed, but after the job interview, the stress usually goes away. Or if you're facing some type of short-term problem, maybe a financial problem that doesn't last a long time, or a car issue, or divorce. Or sometimes, if you're giving a presentation in class, if you have to give some class presentation, it comes on very fast, where it's just something that comes from the demand and the pressures of what you have to do, or things that you're already anticipating. And sometimes it's things that have happened in the past, but it usually does not last long. It's short term. After the stressor goes away, or you've dealt with the stressor, it usually gets better and resolves. Chronic stress is stress that has built up over time. So something can start as an acute stressor, but if it keeps building up, so for example, maybe you're not doing well in your classes, that is stressful, then your grades do not improve, then maybe you're applying for jobs and the job does not pan out. And then if you're having any financial problems, so kind of things that are coming on and piling up, and they're going on for a long time. So it's stresses that keep piling up over you. Some other things could be, stress from poverty, from family dysfunctions. If your family has some stresses going on that are not going to resolve easily, or they've just been going on and are just piling up. Past or current traumas, racism and oppression, and also related to COVID-19. So there's some people who for the past year and a half have been dealing with a lot of stressors. Maybe they've had COVID or have lost loved ones, have lost a job, have had to maybe work from home, different things that have been going on for a long time. It builds up over time. And with the chronic stress over time, you start to see the impact of the stress. So for example, sometimes people have health problems, for example, like high blood pressure or high heart rate. Some people are not able to sleep, headaches, and other things that we usually see starts to affect your functioning. Like some people are not able to get out of bed, or it's difficult to do things, or even have the motivation to keep up with day-to-day things. Alan's going to talk about common stressors.
Okay, so common stressors. So some of these we've kind of touched on. So some of them are not going to be a surprise and others maybe are. Transitions, that's a stressor. It's a change, right? A change in what we're doing. So even moving or starting a new semester, that's a stressor. Even if you're looking forward to moving, to get into your new place, to starting that new semester, you've been looking forward to it. You worked hard to get into a new university. It's still a stressor. Of course, finances, that's often stressful for people. And conflicts with friends or family or roommates, that's stressful. Um, Large academic workloads and just challenging classes, of course, that can be very stressful because we're wanting to do a good job, and then we start to worry, how is this going to work out? I want to make sure that I get a good grade and not fail. Experiencing or hearing about tragic events such as natural disasters. That's where sometimes we'll talk about, it's one thing to watch the news or read the news, but it's another thing to dwell on it and keep watching, tragedy over and over, because it keeps kind of replaying in our mind. And that becomes stressful, even that one same event. Of course, losing a job or an internship or starting a new one. So if you thought you were going to get one, trying to apply to different internships and then you didn't get it, that's not only, difficult to take or sad, but it's stressful. Then again, starting a new internship is also stressful. The idea that even winning the lottery and winning a lot of money, it's positive, but it's a change. And so we could almost change that word from stressor to change, right? So just when we change, that's difficult for people. It's stressful. Sleep deprivation, it's taxing on our brain. If anybody's ever taken international flights or stayed up for over a day, that reaches a point you can't think anymore because your brain is stressed and your brain cannot handle it. Of course, chronic illness, having pain issues, sudden changes in routine. Oftentimes students will complain that starting a new semester is difficult and stressful. They just got used to the schedule from the previous semester and now it's changing. New classes, new professors, new times, new days, and it takes a while to get used to that. Then of course, adjusting to online or back in-person classes or hybrids, that's also stress. Thank you, Bilha. Okay, career and internship stressors. So again, I kind of touched on it, but trying to just find a job or an internship. Looking for a job is kind of a full-time job. So if you have a part-time job and you're in school full-time, and then you're looking for a job, now you have multiple things to do all at once. And it's also difficult, made more difficult, I think, oftentimes, because it appears that everybody's getting the internship or everybody's getting a new job, and we're the only one, it feels like anyway, that's not getting that opportunity. Then on top of that, preparing for interviews, whether it's virtual or in person, again, loss of a job or internship due to COVID, that's been something that still takes place, although we're starting to see a swing definitely in the other direction. And pressure. There's a lot of pressure now on students this semester to not only get an internship or a job, but to get it earlier than in the past. In the past, we would have waited a little bit longer, but now people have been trying, right from the summer for next summer already. Adjusting to working remotely, for some people that can be really good. For other people, not having that interaction is stressful and it's difficult. Finding or maintaining that work-life balance or work-home boundaries. So when are you off work? When are you on work? Having those boundaries to say, I'm done for the day. Okay, next slide.
All right. So, that was a good point that you made, Alan, that, stress is how you respond to change. Some changes are good, some changes are things that come from things that we do not expect or things that we do not want to happen. So it's just how you respond to them. So some of the symptoms that whenever you experiencing stress, some physical symptoms are, sometimes people say their heart is pounding. Some people say that their thoughts keep going and going and going. And especially at night, a lot of people say at night, that's when all the thoughts of the things that are stressing you seem to come on. And I think that's because during the day you're so busy, then at night you'll have the time and your mind wants to work some of those things out. Cold and clammy palms, dizziness. Sometimes people say they feel like they have stomach issues or they feel nauseated. And sometimes people will have headaches or start to hyperventilate, or sometimes even your chest will feel tight. Some emotional symptoms, people say, I just feel overwhelmed, like I can't take any more. Sometimes people feel depression, that's like sadness. Sometimes you have trouble getting out of bed, having the motivation to do things, or even, and then which leads to procrastination. Sometimes people say, I feel burnt out, like I just can't do this thing anymore. They just feel anxious and nervous or restless. And then perceived inability to function. For example, some people might not even, as I said, be able to get out of bed, do your day-to-day things, whether it's to pay bills or go to class, or they withdraw from other people. They just don't have the capacity to even want to do things with others. Some cognitive symptoms that we see when someone is stressed is trouble focusing. When some people get very stressed, they're not able to focus, you're not able to speak or even to think clearly or even articulate what you want to say. Some people are forgetful. Some people just keep worrying about, they're not able to move past the stress. It just keeps reoccurring and reoccurring, and that's the only thing they can think of. There are healthy and unhealthy coping skills. So as we said, stress comes from changes of life. Sometimes when some unhealthy coping skills is when something is happening and there's denial, right? So for example, maybe you're not doing well in your class and you just wanna not face what is going on, and sometimes you even avoid. If you're having difficulty in a subject, or you've not been able to do some of your schoolwork, or you're getting so anxious that you're not even able to sit down and apply for a job or go for a job interview, sometimes you avoid doing those things. But over time, some of those things can be costly. If you maybe you were just behind in one assignment, eventually if you're behind in 5 or 6, it might be difficult to go back and recover, right? um, Sometimes some people self-medicate with alcohol or drugs. Alcohol sometimes just helps you maybe relax, but over time some people can find that they're drinking more to get that effect of relaxing, and before you know it, it can be you can be used to that means you're self-medicating with alcohol or even drugs. It can be eating too much or eating too little. Eating too much, it can lead to sometimes people feel bad, they feel sick after doing that. And then even eating too little is not good, because sometimes people feel like they have low energy, and your body just needs the blood sugar to keep going. Sleeping too much or sleeping too little is also not an unhealthy coping skills. And isolating from others, sometimes isolating from others short term is okay if you're stressed and you need some alone time to just do some things by yourself. But if you're not engaging with other people because of stress, that can be detrimental, because sometimes you need other people to support you. That's where your support comes in. And sometimes isolating, it just makes you go further and further into the stress. And then also procrastinating. It can be an unhealthy coping skill over time. Some ways to cope, some healthy ways to cope with stress or anxiety or changes of life is recognize that you are stressed. Sometimes even stopping and recognizing, like, hey, my heart is racing, or you're nervous about something that's going on in your life. Just stopping and recognizing that it's happening. Trying to identify what the stressor is, because sometimes you might know I'm stressed over a job, but even sitting down and asking yourself what is really stressing you about that particular job, or what are you nervous about, it helps you understand a little bit more, and maybe you can target some things that you can do to minimize the stress or deal with the change. Preparing for the stress can also help you predict things. So for example, if you're nervous about a job interview, maybe going and researching about the company helps you predict some of the questions you may be asked, or helps you prepare better, that you're able to feel more confident even as you go to face something that could be making you stressed, but also knowing that you've been able to do your research. It just makes you feel a little bit more comfortable and confident. um, Altering your perceptions about the stress. So sometimes our mind is the biggest thing. We need to control our thoughts. So what I mean by that is, if you're, for example, nervous about an interview and you keep saying, I'm not going to do well. I'm not, I don't even know why I'm going to go do this. Sometimes that can make you not prepare, and also you can even start doing some things to sabotage yourself, that you're not able to overcome that enough to do those things. So sometimes even our own thoughts can cause us to be more stressed and cause us to react in ways that are not helpful, and that will cause more detriment. That will be more detrimental to where we are trying to go. You know. Um, Avoiding unnecessary stress. So sometimes, for example, let's say, it's your work environment or your school environment, and maybe there's an individual who makes things a little bit more difficult for you. Sometimes avoiding engaging with that person, or just engaging with them enough, is okay sometimes, because you're avoiding something that you already perceive to be unnecessary stress. Because sometimes we have to be able to perceive the things that make us stressed, so that we can avoid them, or even manage them in a way that is useful. Okay. Setting appropriate boundaries. For example, some people have other obligations. For example, family. You're going to school. Sometimes you have maybe parents or family members, or even your boss, that sometimes come in unexpectedly and want you to do things, and that sets you off course. Sometimes just having some good boundaries of telling people, hey, I'm not available at this time, or hey, I would appreciate if you would give me some time to get myself ready. Maybe give me a week or two to, if you want to request me to do something. So kind of setting some expectation and some boundaries. That way people don't come and ask you for things unexpectedly, and that throws you off. Creating time to do fun things that are relaxing and that help you just take care of yourself and give you the momentum to keep going day by day. And that can be, doing things with friends, making sure you're getting enough sleep, making sure that you're eating well, exercising, watching a movie, all those things that kind of help you just distress and give you just that momentum to keep moving. Okay. And then always remember that acute stress is temporary, and it will pass. Even sometimes reminding yourself that whatever you're going through is short term, and how can you just cruise through it, and what are some ways that you can get support through this thing, and just know that it will go away eventually. Some strategies to deal, I kind of talked about sometimes you might just need to slow down and take a deep breath, or even a few breaths, just to just even taking a break. Let's say you're stressed out in your classroom, even sometimes just going to the bathroom and leaving your classroom for a little bit to take some breath. Sometimes that's helpful. Practicing mindfulness, just listening either to a video about deep breathing and music that is calming, just to help you be in the moment. Schedule some time to do pleasurable things or self-care activities. Sometimes journaling is helpful, especially at night. At night, that's when, we talked about things come to you, especially if you've been avoiding some things like applying for a job or avoiding to do some homework. Sometimes even journaling and getting your emotions out, like what is stressing you about your day or how your day has been going, it helps you just strategize what you can do tomorrow. And also it's a way to dump out some of those thoughts so that you can be able to go to sleep and just get some of those thoughts out. Sometimes doing gratitude or positive affirmations. So for example, if you're saying to yourself, I'm going to fail this interview, is reminding yourself, no, I'm not going to fail this interview. And sometimes even going back and reminding yourself why not, that, hey, you know what, I've been prepared for 4 years, I've already done my research for the company. That you are capable, reminding you some of those things that will give you the boost to move past the stress. Taking time to prioritize and organize your responsibilities, setting intentional goals, just being intentional on how we use your time. We talked about procrastination. Sometimes even recognizing that, okay, wait, I always have all the time, but I usually tend not to do something. So sitting down and setting goals of what you'll do the next day, maybe making a task list or even scheduling exact times you'll do something, that helps you just start. And sometimes if it's even changing your environment, if being home doesn't work, making sure that you stay on campus to study or do your assignments, or even apply for jobs while you're on campus, that sometimes helps you just use your time well. Okay. Talk about your stress to people rather than avoiding it. Sometimes we avoid stress, but sometimes even talking to other people, you get support. And sometimes those people can even give you some suggestions that you may not even think about, or things that they may even have some things that can be helpful to you. You know, Develop a routine that works for you. Honestly, having a good routine is helpful in terms of time management, and also is a way to make sure that you are setting time to do things that you enjoy. Um, Progressive muscle relaxation, it's a technique that is used in counseling or mental health, where sometimes even taking the time to maybe massage your muscles, or even to do some stretches, and while doing some deep breathing, is a way to just relax your body, and it helps you even ground yourself and take out some of that stress in that moment, and see if you're able to overcome and move forward and with the things you need to do. So, as Alan was saying, limiting social media. Sometimes, looking at social media, looking at news that is stressful, or even sometimes, even looking at other people's social media, sometimes it can be so stressful that you might need to put some good limits to understand that, what, I cannot do too much of this. I see the effect it has on me. Getting enough sleep, eating well, exercising, spending time with friends, spending time with your pets, and just doing some of the things that are helpful to you. Alan?
Yeah, so strategies for career and internship stress. I wanted to reiterate something that you said, Bilha, though, that many things were important, but when you mentioned the fact that a lot of these stressors are actually short term, and that's something easy to lose sight of, that we think everything is going to last forever and kind of permanent, and it's easy to think that way when we're in the midst of it, that it's never going to change. But of course the truth of the matter is all these things evolve and they move on. So as long as we're working towards something, either way they're going to move on. That storm cloud will move away from the top of our head. So strategies for career and internship stress. it starts with, and one of those kind of steps to take to try to alleviate stress is to start early. So coming by the University Career Center, making an appointment, you don't have to have any real big agenda, just to kind of introduce yourself and see what kind of services we have. It makes it a lot easier than when you eventually need something if you've already been here. Creating a LinkedIn account and updating it regularly. Of course, we can assist with that, but that's something that you can do to at least open your LinkedIn account, have it there. Creating a resume, updating it regularly also makes it easier when you do start to apply for a job or an internship to at least have that already started. And I know many classes at UTD, they've started implementing that to have your resume updated. Attending the Career Center's workshops, career fairs, any kind of networking events, it just kind of breaks the ice and it gets you thinking in those terms and gets you used to being around other people, other professionals. And it makes it easier so that when the time comes and it's for real and you're really going for that internship, you're already pretty comfortable with it because you've been doing this. Of course, participating in informational interviews and job shadows. So informational interviews, being able to speak with somebody who's actually doing that job is invaluable because we can read about it, we can hear about it as much as possible, but when we can speak with somebody who's doing it every day, perhaps they've been doing it for years, that's a wealth of information right there. Job shadowing, being able to see firsthand what's taking place is extremely important as well. Some stress less goals. So it's good to set some goals, right? I mean, I know that these things pass on their own, but it's much easier if we can set a goal to try and get through them and feel that sense of accomplishment. So examples, creating a goal, I will ask to have a different shift at work this week, if that's possible, right? If that's something you can do. I will walk my dog for 20 minutes each morning. There's a lot of research, and I know Bilha could speak to it as well, that that type of exercise really engages the brain and can assist with depression. So it's accomplishing a few things, gaining some exercise, good for your body, good for your brain, and in this case, good for your dog as well. Practicing mindfulness, I know Bill had mentioned that as well, for 3 minutes a day. It's practice because, you know, if you're not used to doing it, even if you are, it can be a challenge, and that's okay. So we try to practice mindfulness because we're trying to do a good job. Maybe a goal of I will challenge myself when I have the thought I must get the internship or I'm a failure. Essentially, is that true? You know, are you a failure? Because people don't get internships all the time, but they get one. So does that make them a failure? And if not, how are you a failure? Or perhaps a goal such as I will edit my resume for 30 minutes this week, or set a boundary with my partner regarding a specific issue, or maybe a coworker in a specific issue. FaceTime with friends for 30 minutes each night. Maybe that's too much. Maybe you're too busy. So maybe that's twice a week, you know, whatever it is that works for you. Essentially setting that goal, writing it down, and trying to kind of work through it will really help check that off the list for you.
Yes, you know, all these are good suggestions for the stress less goals, and some of these can even be you can even look at them as some of the prompts that you can use to journal at night. So, you know, for example, you know, maybe there's things that are, you know, stressing you about work or stressing you about school or stressing you about your partner or your family. Even just thinking about that and even identifying what is stressing you about that specific thing. What are some of the things that are in your control? What can you do? Is a way to kind of like figure out ways to manage the stress, right? And so even sometimes journaling will give you some insight. And then if you want to practice mindfulness, there's different videos on YouTube that you can find one that you like. That there's some that are a little bit long, there's some that are short that you can use day to day to just help you in the moment if you need it. We're almost at the end, and then we'll have a Q&A time. So as I said, I'm from the Student Counseling Center, and we are open. We're currently seeing students remotely. So if you know, if you have questions about anything about stress or any of the content that we shared, or you know what, you're not sure if we you have a question or you need some help, and you're not sure where you can get the help, you can always reach the Student Counseling Center, and we'll be happy to help you or even to point you in the right direction. If you go to our website, you can just Google, UTD Counseling Center. You'll be able to see ways, some of about our services. We offer some counseling. We also have psychiatry, and we also have some, like this workshop and also other workshops that you can engage in. And if you're ever in crisis, and crisis means, hey, I'm not doing well and I think I need help to speak to someone right now, there is a crisis number. It's UTD Talk, and the number is 972-883-8255. And there are trained counselors there, available 24 hours a day that you can speak to. And on the last slide, I will show you a few other resources for the counseling center. Alan, you want to share about the Career Center services?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have many services. At the top there, day in the life career shadowing events. So through our experiential programs, they will set up a day in the life shadowing. So you can, again, like I was speaking about, see kind of firsthand what's going on. Of course, career expos and networking events. It's good practice. And it also, beyond practice, you're getting to meet people in the industry that you're hoping to work in. So it's helping you to kind of get used to speaking with them. Online job and internship search resources. So trying to assist with, how do we find these online job and internship sources? Mock interviews, practicing, making it where the first time you're going for an interview, you don't want that to be your practice. You really want to practice it ahead of time. So hence the need for mock interviews. Resume guide, something to kind of assist you to get you started. Credit career planning courses. We offer different courses through the Career Center that you can get credit for if it works with your degree plan. Career assessments. We've got a couple different assessments that can assist if maybe by chance you're not sure if this is the right major for you. Well, then we can do some assessments and kind of look a little bit closer at, is this a good fit for you? And maybe why did you choose that particular major? What were your reasons? Virtual workshops, so registering on Handshake for different workshops such as this one. Topics including your professional online presence, resumes, LinkedIn, any number of different topics that we offer at the Career Center. So here's a little bit info about us. University Career Center, we're open remotely. We still have that on there because, of course, with COVID, we don't know if things are going to change. We're open as well in person, but we are continuing to also have virtual appointments. So you don't need to actually come to the building. You are able to still take those appointments from your dorm room or apartment if you'd like. And there's our exact address. And you can follow us on Instagram or on Facebook.
All right, and here are some resources for the counseling center. As I said, that's our website where you can find out about our workshops, about the services we provide, and also we have a new app called Thrive app that you can download either on your App Store or Google Play, and the app is just to help students in their day-to-day life, to know how to deal with challenges as they come, or just stressors or anything that we talked about. So one of the things that if you go to the app, you can see they have a section on gratitude, and sometimes it has different quotes about gratitude. Like I'm holding a card right now. It says gratitude is recognizing the good, and it says, and then somebody was saying that every time they use the Thrive app, it encourages them to pause and find appreciation about what is going good for good in their life, and have some gratitude, and it just shifts their mood drastically. Okay, so just check out the Thrive app, the UTD Thrive app, and see. So I'm going to stop sharing the presentation, and then we'll go to Q&A. If anybody has any questions or any feedback, you can either put it on the chat or feel free to turn on your camera or and just speak, and we'll be happy um, to answer.
Okay, I see a question. Thank you both for the presentation. Very informative. Okay, you're more than welcome. Yeah, thank you for attending.